Right, okay, fan reaction time then. Burnley 1, West Bromwich Albion 1. And yeah, obviously disappointed that we didn't put the pressure on Leeds United. I think that's the main thing for me tonight. I mean, having said that, I've never really thought we could catch Leeds. It's just since they lost at Pompey, you kind of think, oh, maybe, just maybe, Leeds, they fall apart. That's how the song goes. But I think for us and Sheffield United to put the pressure on them and to have them to start properly looking over their shoulder tomorrow, especially when they play Millwall, is that we both needed to win. Now they'll be looking at it thinking, yes, bang on, this is a great opportunity for us to put some breathing space between us and the rest of them. But Sheffield United, I think, for me, are the team that we should be looking at. And thankfully, Bristol City did us a favour tonight by scoring quite late on, because I actually deleted this tweet because I was being slightly flippant when I tweeted it. But I genuinely felt if we'd have drawn that match and Sheffield United had won, which they were doing, and then Leeds win tomorrow, the season isn't over, and that's what I tweeted. Being flippant, like I said, but it would have been hard work, wouldn't it? It would have been hard work to turn it around from there, because then we're going to need Sheffield United to lose a couple of matches and us to not, basically. Fingers crossed they get beat at Hillsborough this weekend, because they've got a really, really, really tough game in the Steel City derby, so fingers crossed. But anyway, I'm talking too much about all the other teams, and I know some of you get annoyed at me for that. Just concentrate on ourselves. You just can't help it at this stage of the season. I'm one of them that's constantly looking at the other teams and seeing what they're doing. But anyway, let's talk about the match. I feel like a draw was a fair result. I don't think any Burnley fan can look at that game and look at the balance and play and be like, we should have won that match. This happened, which shouldn't have happened. He should have scored that or whatever. Like, I feel like a draw is probably the fair result, and you can see why they went to Leeds and got a draw there, and in the end had a late chance to win it. They're quite clearly a good side with some good quality players. They're organised well. They're a proper Tony Mowbray side, and for all his connections down the road, he's a good manager, and you could see that tonight in them. They're a good team, well drilled, defend well, but get forward with purpose, which is, I feel like, something we were lacking tonight. I've already edited Andrews, and at the time of recording this, Andrews and Chris's fan reactions, and I feel like Andrew hits a nail on the head. And I feel like this is the problem we've had all season, but Andrew just said we just lacked that bit of urgency, and we did. In that last 7 minutes or whatever he added on, we moved the ball quickly, we passed it around quickly, we were trying to get things done. Obviously, ultimately, we didn't put the ball in the back of the net, but that was the only time I felt like we were moving the ball with real purpose and with pace and getting forward quickly. I know Parker likes to focus on slow build-up play, but when you have an opportunity to potentially go top of the league, like obviously with Sheffield United dropping points, if they'd have lost and we'd have won or whatever, then in fact we would have gone top of the league tonight, because they drew, didn't they? So we would have gone top of the league because we've got a better goal difference than them. But I just feel like ultimately we should be moving the ball quicker. We should be moving the ball quicker in these games, and it's been the same all season. My frustrations tonight, my main frustration, and I understand tinkering with the team. I get it. We're playing Saturday, Tuesday. Then we have an international break, and I am going to completely contradict myself in a little bit with a point I'm going to make about Edwards, but I just felt like the changes that were made were more putting us back into our shell than the performance we saw against who were at the weekend, Luton. I know they were down to 10, and I know it's Luton. It's a completely different kettle of fish, I get that. But I just felt like with the confidence that Foster would have got from that goal at the weekend, I felt like he should have been the starting player. Look, I like Fleming, and he's probably the better goal scorer of the two, if you will. But there's been too many poor performances from Fleming recently. The ball just doesn't stick to him. He doesn't hold the ball up. It just bounces off him every time. I just feel like he gets bullied. I don't always, to be fair to Fleming, think it's legal, the bullying that he gets. I feel like a lot of it is pushing and shoving and stuff that referees should be a little bit more looking towards giving us free kicks. But I just feel, I know he scored. So when you look at stats and things like that, and who scored ratings, if you're that type of fan, then it'll say he had a decent rating. But I thought Fleming were poor again tonight. Having said that, I don't think Foster offered too much more when he came on. To be fair, he wasn't on for long and obviously got injured again, which is another massive frustration. I know it's not his fault that he's getting injured, but he gets injured too much and misses too many games, and that's frustrating. What do we do at the weekend now? We're going to have to start Fleming if Foster's out for a while. Hannibal as well. I like Hannibal, and I like him as an individual, and I like what he brings to the team. I just feel like we just look a little bit disjointed sometimes with him in the middle. I feel like it's because he has them both playing in more fluid roles and things like that. It's kind of like they're both eights with Hannibal and Brownhill. Whereas I feel like with Loren in there, even though I think Hannibal is the better player in terms of technical ability, I think I made this point last time, didn't I? But I just feel like the midfield looks a lot more balanced when it's Loren, Cullen and Brownhill. And I'd be going back to that at the weekend. Loren, Cullen, Brownhill, if Foster's fit, have him in the 9. But I don't think he will. I mean, I've seen nothing or heard nothing at all. I just with the way he limped off, it didn't look great. Probably be out for this game and then hopefully be back after the international break. But one thing I do want to say, and I've tweeted about this, and I've come under, I think the majority of people do agree, but I have come under some scrutiny, some stick, is I want to talk about Lucas Perez. I thought he was fantastic tonight. I really, really do. I thought he was excellent. He put one on an absolute plate for Fleming. What Fleming? I haven't seen it back yet because it's not on the highlights packages that I've watched so far. And then obviously I sit in the Jimmy Mack, so it was right at the other end. But he put one an absolute beaut of a ball in for Fleming. Kind of like the one that Humphreys put in for Brownhill at Bramall Lane. But Fleming, I felt like I don't know what he did, but he just bounced off him shock. And I thought he did well. He did well defensively, he did well on the ball. And I tweeted about it. I said, he gets a lot of stick on here because I do feel like Perez is a new scapegoat. And the majority of people agree, but you've got some people sort of like saying, oh, it was rubbish, his pony, it looks like he's won a competition to be a footballer. Like, genuinely, like I get it's a game about opinions and stuff, and that's why we love football, and if it wasn't like that, channels like mine wouldn't exist, because everyone would just agree, so nobody would want to watch what somebody's got to say. But I genuinely believe if you looked at that game of football from Perez's point of view and looked at him and thought he was poor tonight, then I don't feel like you're watching the game with fresh eyes. I feel like you've gone into it with a premeditated conception of Perez that in your head is shite and that's it. And you can't see past the fact that he played quite well tonight. I won't go as far as saying he was the man of the match, although it's very, very close. And I would like to give it to Perez just for sort of like full circle, if you will, but I don't really feel like that's fair. I feel like the best player on the pitch was Cullen, and obviously we're not doing a full-time show this week, so I'm going to give my man of the match now. I think it was Josh Cullen. He just makes us tick, and the amount of times he got the ball in tight spaces, came out with it, passed it to him, and that's what he's there to do. Brilliant. I do think Brownhill was quiet tonight, but again, I don't feel like that midfield works with Brownhill and Hannibal in there. I feel like Brownhill's best when you let him play further forward and not have to worry too much about doing other things. But yeah, it's frustrating to leave the turf with a draw, but you can't really complain. I feel like it was a fair result. I do want to talk about a couple of controversial incidents. I was shouting like mad for handball when it happened in that last minute. I haven't seen it back yet, and it's probably claret tinted glasses, because at the time it looks like his arm's kind of like, it is down by his side, but it kind of felt like he was a little bit behind him as well. But again, like I said, I sit in the Jimmy Mack and it was right in front of him, but I can't see it from an angle to see if he has moved his arm. I will wait. I will kind of reserve judgment until I've seen it back on a highlights package, because the one I watched, it wasn't on it for some bizarre reason. But I felt like it was handball at the time. But my dad, for example, he didn't think it was. And as soon as I tweeted saying it was handball, obviously I was getting grief. Somebody was saying, what do you want? It's never handball. But to be fair, some people were saying that his hand was in an unnatural position. So I don't know. When I see that one back, I think it was given against you. You're frustrated. But I also think it's one of them that probably is given in the Premier League. But again, I'm saying that without actually looking back at it. CJ Egan-Riley. Sending off sent off after the final whistle. First of all, what are you doing, lad? What are you doing? The full-time whistle's gone. I get it. You're frustrated. Them two strikers, well, not the two, I don't know who they were, but the players playing further forward for West Brom in that second half, they were constantly all over CJ and Esteve. And CJ and Esteve, every single time, just mopped it up. There was one time where one of their players was all over Steve, ragging him around with his shirt, trying to push him over. Ball comes over, Steve chests it down, plays it out, nice and easy. Does it again, this time even more. Steve gets a little bit frustrated, pushes him off him. But every single time the ball would go into them, they were just pushing and shoving everybody. So I understand CJ is probably frustrated with the result, probably frustrated with the way that their forwards were sort of like pushing and shoving against him. But what are you doing there, mate? If he's missing for the next 3 games now, we are up shit creek, genuinely, because I know Chris has mentioned this in his fan reaction, but he's spot on. Worrell is nowhere near the quality of Steve and CJ, and look how bad he was against Preston. It might just be a one-off, because he did start the games earlier in the season, and he didn't look that bad, to be fair. But against Preston, Worrell was awful, and I am a little bit worried now that if we have a defensive partnership of Worrell and Esteve at the back, then it's not as good as Steve and CJ. So I'm a little bit worried about that. However, even though I've just called him an idiot, well, I didn't, but he is, for doing it, I don't think it's a red card. You see him, I'm going to say the exact same thing Chris said, but you see him happen 4 or 5 times in a game, and it's a yellow because you've stopped a counter. That's it. It's a yellow, that's it. The referee, I think it's just gone to his head because it's after the match, and has been like, yeah, violent conduct. I've seen people saying that he has actually put in his report violent conduct, or he's said in somewhere that it's violent conduct. There's no way that is violent conduct. No way whatsoever that is violent conduct. And I 100% hope the club appeal it, because if he's put it down as violent conduct, then that should get rescinded. It should get rescinded. Another thing, why has he sent Parker off? Again, I've not seen the full incident because obviously I was in the Jimmy Mack. I can't hear what Parker said. But having that bit is on the highlights package, and Parker calmly walks up to the ref, says something to the linesman, and then the ref comes steaming over with your head. He's allowed to talk to you. He's allowed to ask why. It's not like he's stormed on the pitch during the match. The full-time whistle is gone. I just feel like Gavin Ward, I think like he's clearly one of them that I was going to say something I probably shouldn't have said then, but he's a bad referee. He's a bad referee. I haven't seen the red card incident back yet, to be fair, but yeah, ultimately frustrated, obviously, but yeah, Leeds should beat Millwall. I know they beat him in the cup, but Leeds will beat Millwall, and they can go into that game relaxed now. I think that's the main takeaway from all this for me, is Leeds can go into that game tomorrow now relaxed and just think 3 points puts more breathing space now between us and the chasing pack. Whereas if us and Sheffield United had both won and gone above them, I know Sheffield United have gone above them, but if we'd have both won and both gone above them and had some breathing space ourselves between them, the pressure would have been properly on Leeds. It properly would have been on Leeds. But I just feel like now they'll go into that game nice and calm, run-of-the-mill 3-0 win. But yeah, as I said at the start of this, they're not really the team that I've been worried about. It was fun watching them lose against Portsmouth. Got nothing against Leeds. They're obviously just the one of the teams that we're chasing. It was fun to watch them lose against Portsmouth, but ultimately I do think they'll go on to win the league. We just need to catch Sheffield United. And thank God for Bristol City, because I was worried then. But yeah, we just need to put it behind us now, and 3 points. Nothing less than 3 points is acceptable now on the weekend, on Saturday. It's going to be a tough game. Swansea are fighting for their lives. They'll be all right. They won't go on. In fact, they're not. They ended up pulling away a bit, didn't they? So they're not fighting for their lives, but still, they're an half-decent team, Swansea. They've got some decent players. It's going to be a tough game. But if you want aspirations of getting out of this league and finishing in the top 2, then these are the sort of games you go, and these are the sort of games where you go and make a statement. But we need to play better than what we did tonight. We need to go back to that performance against Luton, all right, 10 men, back to the performance in the second half against Sheffield Wednesday, then if you will, and start winning games again. Because now is the time to start putting a run together. 24 unbeaten is fine. But if you finish third, it's not really worth anything, is it? So yeah, need to start winning now, starting at the weekend.